Hi guys, this is Ben from bensrpgpal.com, and today we're going to talk about how to prep a D&D encounter. There's a great book by Sly Flourish called Dungeon Master Tips. I got mine at Gen Con personally signed by Mike Shea. There's a great section there called how to prep for, he has like a use an encounter checklist. And that particular chapter really hit home for me. I really enjoyed it, and I thought I would show you guys how do the guys from Ben's RPG Pile prepare for an encounter. So we're going to go through a couple of those things. So the first thing is I make sure I do a write-up. I take some time, I make some kind of notes and a few transition notes on how I think everything's going to go. I think it's really important to get your initial thoughts down. I made a little skill challenge as part of it, so I wanted to make sure I got that down on paper so I wasn't kind of fumbling through. Two really important things on prep for a D&D encounter. One, if you're a DM, you should enjoy it, because it's one of the best parts about being a DM is being able to create the story and put all the pieces together. So I always look at it as actually a lot of fun. It's a great stress relief. The second thing is every DM who preps for their game ultimately allows for more game time, because you spend less time looking through charts and finding stuff and digging through terrain and boxes of minis. If you have all that ready to go, your group's going to be able to play more that night instead of going through tons of long pauses. So the first thing is I use a lot of Ziploc bags. I put all the stuff for the encounter in those bags. I usually prep 3 or 4 encounters in a particular game night. So I just have these ready to go and I have them labeled. The next thing is I always make a color printout of the map. I always like to have that handy of whatever section they're in. I put that in make a color printout, slip it in a plastic insert, and then it's really easy for me to reference instead of flipping back and forth in the module. After that, the encounter itself, of course, I read through that encounter, but I also make highlights of really important things like DC checks or things I make sure I don't forget to call out or trigger events. And I make notes about terrain we might have to make and stuff like that. So I really mark that page, those pages up really good, just so I remember certain things. Okay. After that, I prepare the NPCs. The particular encounter that I'm going to walk you guys through today is actually from Thunderspire Labyrinth, and it is the Ambush Interlude 2, where the group meets an NPC, Cherokee, a little kobold, and I made a little NPC card for him. You can download these off our website at bensrpgpal.com. But they get a message from him, right? So I made the message. They're supposed to go to a cave and meet somebody, and of course that's where the ambush takes place. But I pulled the mini, I made the NPC card, and I set all that up. So I got that taken care of. The next thing is, of course, is you prepare the monsters, right? So here are all the monsters. I pull all those minis ahead of time, and then I do a couple things. I number those minis. If you got the same mini, it's so hard to keep track on the map of that mini, so I number those ahead of time so that it's easy for us to identify them on the map. And so here I pulled all my minis, and then I make the monster cards. So I make monster cards for each one of them. In this particular case, I'll just pull these aside here. Here's the Tiefling, right? I made the monster card for the Tiefling, and I used the Wizards of the Coast Adventure Tools, and I printed out their stats, and I like to use those because they're more up to date than the module, right? So I know I'm always pulling the latest stats off the monsters. I pre-roll their initiatives, and I mark those on the card. I number the mini, and then I put a number and dot on the card, so I make sure I'm marking the right one up during the encounter. So the monster cards are very handy, and I do that for each one. Okay. After that, the monsters are going to have treasure. So there's a couple things that go in that particular case. There'll be a couple potions and a brooch here for the group. And I love using the item cards from Paizo, and I print out the descriptions from the character builder from Wizards of the Coast, and then I make a cool little card that the guys can keep, and that way it's easier to reference during the game. The Bronze Warder, he has a command amulet, right? So there's his amulet. So there are certain things that happen on that amulet. So I made that up, and there's a skill challenge that goes with that, so I've got that all plotted out. After that, they'll roll for a random item off our random items table, which you guys will see in the coming weeks, and be able to download off our website. So they find a mirror, and that might have a handy reference or use in a future encounter. They'll find some gems, right? And then they're going to have some messages from the tieflings, right? Here they are, and I used a map and scroll as a front of that. These are great to have because they're important points for the overall campaign and the group. We don't play every week, so to help them remember key events, I make these cards, and that way when they sit back down to play again, it's a little bit easier to reference. So they're the cards. Okay, and then if they've found any money, well, I'll count that up and pull that aside too. I love the Paizo money, so I pull out the gold, silver, and copper. I just think that's super fun to have the money. Okay, have it handed to them instead of just saying, I love to slide that across the table. And then there might be a unique thing where they're collecting puzzle pieces for a map, so they're going to find a puzzle piece in the cave. So that's like one of those unique items that you can have. Okay, and then we're going to talk about prepping the terrain and setting the map ahead of time. So I'll show you guys how that goes. Okay, so when prepping for the encounter and making the game board for it, for the 3D terrain, again, we'd love to build our terrain using Herstarts and every other accessory we can collect and find and make on the planet. That's why we have a pile of stuff, you know. So we do lay these out ahead of time. You'll notice that they're actually, it's hard to see, but they're on boards, right? So when we actually play the game, we take them off the boards, but I pre-make them on these boards here so that I can move them around and stack them up on a nice confined area so my wife doesn't kill me, because she doesn't want to see my D&D stuff laid out all over the house. So we use the boards, and then we put the terrain together. What's interesting for the ambush, we always try to make some of a unique piece for the terrain or for the map, because we just want to have some memorable stuff, and after a while you get to reuse those pieces in other settings. So Enigma 23, one of the great guys on the forums and who we've met through previous game events, he made some great boulders for us, because in this particular encounter, the Bronze Warder here, he is going to push a boulder once the party comes through into the cave. This is going to be pitch black. When they come in, the Warder is going to take and push this boulder and block their exit, and then there'll be a big battle. And then some tieflings are going to jump down off the ledge here and try to attack the PCs. But so we made some boulders this time, and Enigma just did a great job using just that styrofoam insulation that a lot of people use in the Midwest. We don't use that out here in Arizona, but back in the colder states they do. So he made boulders for me, and then he made some cool rocks for me and used the Hurst bases there. You can see a couple over there. You see there's just all sorts of pieces there, and then that just kind of gives it like a cool kind of cave feel, you know. So we make the map ahead of time, and it seems to work out great. So there you go, guys. That's how you prep a D&D encounter. I hope you found that interesting, and you can certainly say hey to us on Twitter. Check out our Facebook page. We post lots of fun links and videos and just humorous stuff up there that we find on the web. You can check out our weekly blog, and of course watch our weekly video game podcast, where you can see how this particular adventure will play out on video. So there it is, guys. Thanks a lot. See ya.